Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tea, Timtams, and Travel with me, Nabeel from Rihaala, and Elena, the Muslim travel girl. Elena, how are you doing today?
I'm very good, Nabeel. How are you today?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm really excited about today because this is a topic that, we see a lot of from our clients. We hear a lot of about from even people in the office, all talking about what they've done with, all these points that they're collating. And I'd like to introduce Ariana from the Pointchaser blog, the founder of the Pointchaser blog. Ariana, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the Pointchaser and how you started it and what inspired you to start the blog?
Yeah, so I started Pointchaser back in 2012. I had just taken a trip with my family actually back to Afghanistan, and then we went to Dubai and then Germany and then back to the US. And I actually grew up in Germany, but I've lived in the United States since 1997. So there wasn't a lot of international travel. When you live in the US, you're kind of just like here. So that was my first big trip since we had moved to the US. And I just caught the travel bug and I wanted to go back. And these trips aren't, cheap. So I remember going online and looking at like ways to travel for free and how do you travel for cheap. And there's a lot of like scams, obviously. But then I came across a few websites where people were talking about like credit cards and using points. And I just got obsessed with it. I started collecting all the information. And then eventually, because other people would ask me about it all the time, I thought the best way to really share this is through a blog. So that's what I ended up doing. Founded the blog and just started, writing and sharing everything that I knew.
Which is excellent information space as well. I read it a lot. I know it's a US based, but all these trips you've taken, I know you took one recently that I'm so jealous about.
Yeah, the Maldives one, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh,
that was amazing.
I did that. Actually, this is an excellent starting point because we're talking about, one question I always get is it true you can have these amazing trips for free? And people don't believe me that I've been for Umrah for pretty much free. You have done something very similar, I know, for Umrah. And your most recent trip was the Maldives, which was free.
The Maldives one is
Pretty
actually
much.
the most expensive one I took, and that one I ended up paying like $1,500 out of pocket. But I think that considering what the amazing hotel I stayed at, and they picked me up in a yacht from the airport, and I flew in business class, I think that it was worth it. But there was definitely ways to do it cheaper in the Maldives, because there are really cheap points hotels, and there are places that are more reasonable in terms of like the transfer charge. That's what really drove it up for me, was the transfer charge.
The transfer.
Yeah.
But the villa, she stayed, Nabeel, in the World of Astoria, the new World of Astoria in the Maldives.
Lovely, beautiful, beautiful resort.
Retails for like what, about £10,000 or dollars a night or something?
The room I stayed in was the basic room. It was the cheapest one, and it was like $2,500 a night at the time, just for the room. And then you have to pay like $900 for the boat transfer. And then when you eat there, it's always like $100 like a meal. But I had a diamond status through one of my credit cards, so I got free breakfast every day. I got a free happy hour, and then they also gave me like, what did I get? There was something else I got out of it, but oh yeah, I got a $250 credit that I could use at the resort. So it really helped bring down the cost significantly.
Yeah, and you flew business class for how much?
Oh, the taxes were like $200, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so it is possible to have like these amazing trips on points, right?
Oh, totally. And I've done it for way cheaper. Like I've taken trips with my family where the out of pocket for 5 people for like 3 weeks was $1,500. So, and we flew in like business and first class and stayed at amazing resorts. So you can do it for like way cheaper. And, you know, there's always going to be out of pocket cost, but it's going to be less than if you fly economy class or, you know, stay at like a cheap hotel. So I think it's worth it.
Do you find that it's a lot of it's down to having the will to collate those points and putting your cards in order? I guess I think that's probably the best way to put it. Or is it an art to it? I think a lot of people say, well, you know what, I can't be bothered, you know, and sometimes they could be missing out on a lot of points that they're just doing the everyday spend on.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything, because when I started out, a lot of people would ask me, oh, how do I do this? And when I explain it to them, they just wouldn't go through with it, because it was like, oh, this sounds risky, or it sounds like a lot of work, and I'm not going to put the effort in. So you do have to like enjoy it. And I really enjoy it. Like I go out and I buy gift cards and I liquidate them, and that's how I earn a lot of my points. So you have to like make this fun for yourself. And then you also have to be strategic. So because here in the US, at least, there are a lot of restrictions about like how many credit cards you can apply for in a certain period, how many times you can get the bonus. So you have to be aware of like, okay, I already got an American Express card. I can't get this bonus again, so let me go get a Chase card. But if I get this Chase card, I can't have 5 or more applications before I apply, stuff like that. So you have to really like do your homework on it, and just be diligent of what the rules are. And, you know, just it's not super easy, but I think it's a lot of fun and it's very rewarding.
So if people were, I think Nabeel got a good point on that. And in the UK, we don't have as many credit cards, but so it's a simpler kind of like game to play in a way. For me, at least, I just put everything I have on 2 credit cards that earn me the most I can, you know, manage to earn. So I think in the UK, and you're going to laugh on that, is like 1.5 points, Amex points for a pound, which is nothing.
Actually pretty good.
Compared, well, yeah, I mean, compared to like other countries that don't have that, especially in Europe, it's good, but compared to the US, it's no. But I think what people a lot of the times are kind of missing is that they don't want to get that information overload. So is there kind of like a simple rule from your expertise that they could use to kind of like get started?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you make a good point, because again, there are so many different credit cards and they have different like earning rates, and it can be overwhelming. What I would always suggest to people is, instead of getting, you know, an airline card or a hotel card, get a card that has flexible points that you can transfer. So I think in the UK, American Express is an option. Those are great points. You can transfer them to different airlines. I think you can even transfer them to Hilton, but the ratio is not that great.
Correct.
Or you can use them to book travel through the American Express site. So I feel like flexible points are the best. And, you know, at the very least, if you don't want to research which program to transfer them to, you can go on the Amex travel website and get 1 cent per point of value, you know, out of your reward. So I would start with a flexible card like that. And I don't know if you guys have Capital One, but Capital One is another, probably not, right? Yeah.
Not for really.
Those listening in the US though. So those in the US, Capital One?
Capital One is great because it gives you 2 miles per dollar. You can use the points again through the travel portal and they're worth 1 cent each. So it's almost like you're getting 2% cash back on all your rewards. And then you can also transfer them to, I think, 15 different or 16 different partners now. And so you have a lot of flexibility. And that card has like a $95 annual fee. It's waived the first year. I think it's a great choice. And then my other favorite program is Citi Thank You. They have, you know, a lot of really great transfer partners. Again, a lot of great credit cards that are very rewarding. So, but if you're in the UK, I think the Amex card is the way to go. Don't go for an airline card. Don't get a British Airways obvious card. You know, don't get a hotel card. Just stick to that. I think it's your best bet.
And do you feel that, I mean, the way that points travel has really sort of exploded over the last few years, do you feel there is a future here for this as a viable way to travel a little bit more? Or do you feel that providers and also aggregators to collect your points are just becoming a little bit more savvy about this and, you know, balancing the loyalty with the potential rewards? Do you feel there's a shift in that coming up?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, you know, it might be different for you guys than it is for us out here in the US. This hobby started off as sort of a niche thing. I got into it 8-9 years ago, but it was completely different back then than it is now. Now it's gone mainstream. There's the Points Guy, which is a huge website that I think they have a US UK division now.
Yeah.
So there's the Points Guy UK, and it's completely changed in terms of people being aware of this hobby and taking advantage of it, which has led to some like negative, you know, consequences. But I think it's definitely something that has the potential to go mainstream and just, you know, it'll impact your ability to earn and redeem a little bit. But there's also some positives I think that come from it, you know, from it being like more well known.
Yeah. And I mean, just to wrap up, you know, if you had just one piece of advice or a couple of pieces of advice for people that are new to collecting points specifically to use for travel, what would they be? Because I think a lot of people don't realize how much you can get out of hotel stays. It's not just about flights. It could be car hire, it could be hotels, etc. What would your advice be?
My advice is really, before you start collecting points, figure out what your goals are. Because I think too many people go into it blindly, they collect the wrong currency and they end up like redeeming their points for like less valuable, you know, hotel stays or whatever they can get their hands on. So I think it's good to figure out what your goals are, where do you want to travel to, and then go ahead and start collecting points that help you get there. And start collecting points that help you get there cheapest. Because, you know, not all programs require the same number of points. You know, there are hotels where a free night starts at 5,000 points per night, and then there are hotel chains where it's, you know, 10,000 points. So that's a huge difference. So just know what your goals are and then, you know, start going from there. You will have to do a little bit of research. I think, you know, the more that you know, the better you'll be able to leverage your points. So that's really my advice, is to just do your homework, have a goal in mind, and then just go from there.
Excellent. Elena, your Hilton honors, how are they going? Because I know you're a big fan of Hilton honors, right?
They're pretty good. I'm saving up for the Maldives trip. So,
okay.
You know, I lived in Doha for like 9 months in the Hilton, so I can collect the points. And the girls, when I kept going to renew my contract, because it was a monthly contract, they were like, "Oh wow, you have like 500,000 points. You can redeem them for a night here." And it goes back to what Ariana said. Their night there was like 30 or 50,000 points a night, and their rate on cash was £100. I'm like, 50,000 points or £100? Which was better, Ariana?
Right?
If I was to
Yeah, and Hilton is, I love Hilton. Everyone here in the US likes to like rag on Hilton. I think they're great because you got like 20 points per dollar spent, and then if you're a diamond member from having a credit card, it like doubles. like I earn so many points off of those $100 stays that it's not, no, I'm never going to redeem points for, you know, for a
For
rate.
$100, right?
Yeah. No, and then you can go to the Maldives and instead of paying like $2,000, you redeem, you know, 125,000 or 95,000 points, depending on where you stay.
Exactly.
It feels
So
like,
that's the goal.
excellent.
Nice.
It feels a little bit sweeter when you do. Let me put it that. It really does feel quite sweet when you use points rather than actually hard cash.
And I think Ariana's advice is spot on
Yeah, brilliant.
for that.
Well, Ariana, thank you so much for joining us. You know, your little gems of insight into the world of points collection, I'm sure, will be very useful to all of our listeners and our audience. So thank you again for coming along.
And
Everybody, absolutely check out the blog. Do you just want to give it just the URL just to make sure?
Yeah, it's pointchaser.com, and then you can also follow me on social media. My handle is Pointchaser.
Perfect. It'll be in the description on this video as well, wherever you're watching it. So please go ahead and check out Ariana's blog. So just to wrap up, everybody, remember we're giving away a £100 Rihaala voucher every single day. All you have to do is go to rihaala.com/T. And today's winner is, good question. I better find out who it is. It is Anissa Habib. So well done, Anissa. Thank you very much for entering, and one of the team will be in touch with you very shortly. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.